With this video, we'll learn about using Global Forest Watch to obtain a time series of satellite images. You'll also learn how there are map layers that identify the land that is used for agriculture and or if it has biodiversity value. So first, go to globalforestwatch.org. Once there, on the left-hand side, click on the map tab. And now these three boxes on the left stacked on top of one another show up, and we want to close them. So closing tree cover loss, and the other one. And now what's most important is to notice these tabs over here in the left sidebar: forest change, land cover, land use, climate, and biodiversity. And we'll get started by looking at forest change. At the top here under country specific data, it's always good to see if there is even more detailed data for certain countries. And we're going to be looking at Indonesia, and it has more specific data, so we've clicked on that. Now we're going to scroll down to emerging hotspots. There. And since we want to look at Indonesia, I'm going to grab the image and center Indonesia, and then over here on the bottom right, zoom in. Do a little more centering and zooming. And there is a set of crosshairs in the middle of the map. I'm going to line that up with an area we want to look into more, which is this red area, which means it's a new hotspot. Okay, so other things to look at is that there is an eye for layer info, and you can click on that in any one of these tools that you pull up to understand more about that. Okay, so we're gonna stay with our cursor in this area for the duration of this video. I'm gonna close emerging hotspots. And next, go to land cover, and then click on Forest Landscape Integrity Index. This map helps to show where intact forest landscapes are located, which likely mean native ecosystems. We can zoom in with this tool down here, and hopefully that's going to come in again. Sometimes it takes a while. There we go. And you can see these dark green areas mean that the landscape is really intact. And here's our cursor, and you can see below that there are some intact areas. So now let's close this, and let's go back to forest change and click on Deforestation Alerts GLAD. This gives current changes in an area that are updated weekly, which could be important when monitoring a native ecosystem that is being used for organic production. But in this case, we are going to look at it as because it can show us a time series of changes. And GLAD alerts are tracking deforestation. So it could be caused from fire, in which case you can check down on these alerts to look at the difference. So here we are, and we're going to really focus in on this area. I'm going to zoom in on it some more. And now I'm going to go up here to this slider and set the time up to about the year 2020. And then click on the arrow and we will see that GLAD alerts for deforestation start coming in and really fill this area during this time period, most of 2020. So currently we have a simple white background, and that's a base map. Over here on the lower right, you can click on default and see there's different map styles, and you can see that default is highlighted. Now these other maps, the dark matter just shows, allows the pink color from the GLAD alerts to show up better. The satellite is actually images from Google Earth, and there's another appendix in this toolkit, Appendix B, that goes into depth on how to use Google Earth Pro and has some better tools than just using this here. So there's also Landsat, and Landsat has low resolution. It has data from 2013 to 2017, as you can see here. And it can be useful for sure. You can see some things in it, but it's not as detailed as Planet, which I'm now going to click on. And Planet has high resolution data starting from 2016 to present with monthly and quarterly views, and it's mainly for tropical forests. And so down here, we can see that there are a lot of different options to check. And I'm going to check December 2016 to June 2017. And here the image comes in. Now, if I turn off the pink deforestation GLAD alert, we can see that there hasn't been any deforestation in this area. Going back over here on the right bottom and clicking Planet is highlighted. Now let's move up to December 2020. And we can see that's where the deforestation has occurred, and we can zoom into that a bit more. So the best thing to do would be to make sure this window is open showing this date and taking a screenshot of this as a record. The other thing to do would be to turn back on the GLAD deforestation and then take a screenshot of it as it fills in. Sometimes it takes a while, or we have to zoom out of the area. Yeah, you can see that pink is starting to occur. Yeah, so taking a screenshot of that with the date. The date is important to be able to show when this has happened. Okay, so next, let's close deforestation alerts, and let's go over here and close out forest change. And now we're going to go to land use, and from land use, we're going to click on oil palm concessions. And I'm going to zoom back out so you can see that there's our cursor. We are not seeing oil palm being produced right there, or this mapping tool hasn't determined that yet, but still could be. There's lots of oil palm being produced here. Okay, let's turn off the oil palm layer and this land use cover. And next, let's go down here on the left sidebar again to biodiversity this time. And we are going to look at global biodiversity intactness. Or actually, no, sorry, global biodiversity significance. We could look at intactness, but significance has a little more interesting characteristics. And I think I'm going to switch this to, there we go, it's coming in. Well, you can see that the country, well, I tried to zoom in and zoom out. The country, for the most part, has biodiversity significance there, which you can find out by also doing an internet search. Indonesia has quite a lot of biodiversity. Okay, let's close this out and we'll do one more thing, and that is let's go to land use and let's click on protected areas. So we have to scroll down here and click right there. And so I'm going to turn this back over, the map style back to a white background. You can see here's our cursor, and there are different kinds of, there's a strict nature reserve. And this is a national park. And what's useful for knowing about these areas is if an inspector were to visit this site, they could also visit these protected areas to learn more about what kinds of dominant tree species are present in these kinds of ecosystems. So that's it. There are a written explanation of how to use these tools in Appendix H. And there's lots of YouTube videos if you want to learn more on how to use Global Forest Watch more.